Hi guys, it's Andy from Man City Fan TV and welcome to this latest podcast, and this is a Cup special podcast. And what we're going to do is we're going to cover all the Cup competitions that have happened over the last sort of 7 days or so, and we're going to look back at the Real Madrid Champions League game. We're going to quickly look at the Carabao Cup final against Villa, and then obviously today is Thursday. When we're recording this, we're going to look back on last night's Sheffield Wednesday FA Cup game. Then we're going to look at a little bit of a sore subject at the moment at the end, and that is we're going to look at the opposition fan abuse that Man City fans seem to be getting lately, and finish off with the golden question. If we've got time, we might even just quickly review the United game on Sunday. But as usual, we've got guests on, and tonight we've got three of our regulars are on, and we've got Karl over in Washington. How are you, Karl?
Hello, great. I feel great. It's great over here. It's getting warm. I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for coming on, buddy. We've got Tom.
How you doing? You all right?
You'll know Tom. Tom's been on the podcast before. He was on the videos from Wembley on Sunday. So are you all right, mate?
Yes, I'm good. I'm happy that I got the score prediction right at Wembley as well. So it's always good to get a score prediction right, Andy.
You did. I'll give you that. And Chris, who you would have seen, Chris has obviously been on the channel loads, and Chris was at Wembley with us on Sunday. How are you, mate?
I'm all right, mate. It's not warming up here yet.
No, it isn't. It's bloody freezing. But anyway, we're going to move back and go back to the first game, which now seems ages ago, because we've had 2 games since that particular game, and we're going to go back to the Champions League away game against Real Madrid, where City obviously won 2-1. And just quickly before I ask your thoughts on that particular game, it's going to be driven this podcast by you guys. Obviously, City won 2-1. The team was Ederson, Walker, Otamendi, Laporte, Mendy, Rodri, Gundogan, Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo, Mahrez, and Gabi Jesus. Isco scored in the 60th minute, Gabi in the 78th minute, and Kevin De Bruyne with an 83rd minute penalty. Looking at the stats, 49% possession for Real Madrid, 51% possession for Manchester City. Real Madrid had 9 shots. We had 16 shots. So they had 3 on target. We had 8. So according to, and I think most people will say on that particular game, the BBC in particular gave Kevin De Bruyne as man of the match. So I'm going to start off in the order that I introduced you. So very quickly, give you a minute or so each. What were your thoughts, Karl, on the Real Madrid game?
So when I saw the lineup, I freaked out. Completely freaked out. And I said, what is this man doing again? Is he overthinking this again? But after a while, I saw what was happening on the field. I was just completely dumbfounded with the way the team was playing. I mean, possession, passing, movement, confidence at the Bernabeu in Real Madrid, the kings of the competition. The overall game itself, I just thought was spectacular. It's probably one of our best performances in Europe against a proper team. We're not talking about Shakhtar Donetsk or some other team. We're talking about Real Madrid away at the Bernabeu, where everybody didn't give us a chance. And fantastic performance from the team, tactical masterclass from Pep Guardiola. And we just need to take that form and do the same thing in the other as we go forward in the next game and the games after.
Tom, Karl's just used a word there that I read quite a lot. Now, I was out in Dubai when this match was going on. I got up at sort of like midnight my time to try and get a stream. The streams that I kept being given by people were garbage. I think it was the hotel Wi-Fi. And in the end, I went back to bed. I'll be honest with you. So I didn't actually watch the game live. And I've only seen the highlights because I came back to watch it. And it hadn't been recorded. I'm sort of at your mercy. You guys were the ones who watched the game in full. I've only seen the highlights. But Karl mentioned overthinking then, and that's something that I read quite a lot. What were your thoughts when you saw that lineup?
Well, personally, when I saw the lineup, I thought it was pretty strong. Obviously, because we over the past few weeks we've had quite a lot of games, so I think it was probably the strongest possible lineup he could have put out at that point. He wasn't going too attacking, he wasn't going too defensive, he was just keeping it in sort of a way where he could control Madrid in the attacking and the defensive threats. To To be honest, I thought when Laporte went off, I thought we'd perform better. I don't know what it was, but it seemed like Otamendi was covering Laporte. It looked like he had the niggle for early on and was trying to go on with it. Overall, I think we just outclassed Madrid. You know, like Karl said, to go to the champions, Madrid, champions of this competition over the past decade, and to beat them 2-1, 16 shots on target, beat them on possession, beat them on passes. You know, it was just a masterclass from City, and a proud moment for all Man City fans.
It was. It definitely was. Certainly when I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, looked at my phone and saw it was 2-1, I was like, I couldn't go back to sleep. Chris, talking there, it was a masterclass by Pep, and Isco got the first goal on 60 minutes. What were you thinking when it was 1-0?
Champions League, who gives a stuff? No, it was a pretty poor error from three players really involved in that.
Yeah.
I've heard that Walker could have hammered it away, and he could have, but that's not how we play these days. So I don't really blame Walker so much. Disappointing because I thought we were in control of the game at the time. I think we were the better team over the 90 minutes. So, it was disappointing to go 1-0 down. But we showed some, good resolve. And towards the end of the game, could have stuck more than 2 in. I think the only disappointment with the game was Laporte's injury, really.
Yeah.
Hopefully, he'll be back sooner rather than later.
Yeah, well, it was. I mean, like I said, I've only seen sort of real extended highlights the next day. And it did, like I think you used the word classy. I think going to Madrid, and I know Madrid, some people say Madrid are not the team that they were 2 years ago, 3 years ago, etc. But the top of La Liga, to come away with a 2-1 win, I think. Listening to radio stations and reports and pundits and everything else, they were absolutely singing Pep's praises and saying it was an unbelievable performance by the boys. Obviously, Gabby got the goal on 78 minutes. Then we got a penalty. What were your thoughts on the penalty, Karl?
My thoughts were, who's going to take it?
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
But when Kevin stepped up, I was confident he was going to score. There's just something about De Bruyne in that game, the captaincy, the armband, the way he was leading that team. I just kind of felt that we were going to score that penalty. Anybody else, I wouldn't have been so sure.
Tom, do you feel the same with De Bruyne and actually Karl saying about the captaincy and everything else that went with it? Were you confident that De Bruyne was going to put that in? And what were your thoughts on Kevin De Bruyne's performance in the match?
Well, I thought Kevin was our man of the match. He was absolute class. When he stepped up, I always look at the players' faces when they're taking the penalties. And over the past few weeks, you've seen Sterling, Jesus, Sergio step up for the penalties, and they don't look confident. Kevin De Bruyne was just looking right at that goal. He knew what he needed to do. To get that goal at that point was vital, not just for that game, for the whole Champions League campaign. And he knew he had a job to do, and he settled it right into that bottom right corner, and it was a great goal.
I think I do exactly what you've just said there. Last night I was watching the Norwich Spurs penalty shootout with my lads, and I said both of their penalties that they missed, I went, he's going to miss this. And it was the look on their face.
Yeah.
They just didn't look confident whatsoever. But I think we've all been crying out for Kevin De Bruyne to be taking penalties. He's seemingly come out and said, no, it's not down to me. I mean, I'm happy to take a penalty. Chris, should he be our penalty taker whenever he's on the pitch, even if Sergio's playing?
Definitely, if Sergio's playing. I always think Gundogan's the man. I know he missed. I think it was his last one he missed, but I like Gundogan, the German penalty takers, and it was a stonewall penalty. Before you start,
I'm not saying anything.
Look, Kevin's our best player. I'm very happy for him to be taking the penalties.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're intimating at there, Chris. I was being a bit cheeky by saying that I thought both of our goals weren't it shouldn't have been goals, and there was the push on the back of Ramos. I think I was just winding some City fans up. That was all. I was just being controversial. Some would say clickbaiting. That's the new common term. I think that's going around with journalists and fan channels and whatever else. But yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful victory out there. But we still got the second leg to go. So, Karl, can you see anything different, or do you think, obviously Ramos is not going to be playing? Can you see anything different for the return leg, or should we just do what we did, or should we actually go all out and attack them?
I think the key to the second leg will be energy.
Yeah.
If we have the energy on the field, we'll beat them. Which is why, again, I don't know if Sergio should start that game. I don't know. His penalty box is fantastic. Maybe now Ramos is out, he can play. But if you want the energy, you keep that same team and maybe bring Raheem Sterling in for Mahrez, for Mahrez, or bring Foden in for somebody else. Yeah. But we have to be energetic because they're going to come for us. They will come for us. They will try. But if we're on it on that day, there's only one winner. It should be Man City.
Tom?
Well, Madrid are coming to the Etihad with nothing to lose. You know, they're losing 2-1. The worst that's going to happen for them is that they're going to go out and we'll beat them. So they've got nothing to lose. They're going to come all out attack. We need to play a team that are experienced, who know how to defend and also know how to attack, because we know Madrid will be counter-attacking as much as they can, and we need to try and hit them on the break as well. I just think we just need to play the same sort of game as we did over in the Bernabeu, and I think we can get the win easily.
Chris?
Yeah, this is a really tough one, isn't it? Because we don't need to score, do we?
Yeah.
And,
nope.
I want to just make a comment about Gabby Jesus in that game, because I agree that De Bruyne had a really wonderful game, but I think that's Jesus' best ever game for City. I thought he was fantastic. He was everywhere. You know, he could have had a couple more goals. I would have given him a 10 out of 10 if he'd scored the header after the first goal and the shot in the first half. I thought he was fantastic play. So I'd like to see Gabby given another run out, because I think he really troubled them. It's really difficult. You don't know what Pep's going to do, but when you look at who's on the bench, you know, to start the game, you had Sterling, Aguero, David Silva and Fernandinho. You know, you'd have thought they would have played in the Bernabeu, but it's Pep. He knows what he's doing.
That's absolutely true. It is Pep. So I'm going to just say to you, yes or no, one question. I'll start with Karl. City going through for the next round of the Champions League?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Chris?
Yeah.
Good. That's what we like to hear. So we're going to move quickly on to the next cup competition. And that was obviously Sunday, the Carabao Cup final versus Aston Villa. We won it, another 2-1 victory. The team was Bravo in net, Walker, Stones, Fernandinho, Zinchenko, Rodri, Gundogan, Foden, David Silva, Sterling and Aguero. Now, we got 2 goals in the first half, Aguero on 20 minutes, followed by Rodri on 30 minutes. And then Samatta got his goal, I think it was 41 minutes in. So 2-1 at half-time, ended up 2-1 with a wonderful save towards the end by Bravo onto the post. Possession-wise, 30% possession for Villa, 70% City. They had 5 shots. We had 22 shots. They had 3 on target. We only had 4 on target and scored 2. So, as we know, man of the match for that game was Phil Foden. And what a wonderful, mature performance by Phil Foden. I'm going to start with you this time, Tom. What were your thoughts on the Villa game? So I'll give you a minute. Just wrap your thoughts on that one.
Well, I thought that we played pretty well. We didn't really need to go out of second gear, really, as you could probably see by the cock up from John Stones. He was a bit lackadaisical there, really. I personally thought if Foden was absolutely class. He fits into that team so well. It was a professional performance. We knew that we had, obviously, at that point, the Wednesday game, obviously, last night, and then the derby next week, this Sunday. It was just one of those performances where we showed our true class and put Villa to bed, really, with the 2 goals, disheartened them.
Chris, what were your thoughts? You were there as well.
Foden was fantastic. But I'm so pleased for him to have, played a really, he didn't look like a kid in that team at all. He really played well. But when we scored the second, and I think it was Sterling had a chance to shoot not long after that. You thought, well, this could be another, Watford sort of scenario. We were absolutely battering them, and has been our season. We have a silly mistake at the back. They have a chance. He goes in the back of the net. And, although Villa didn't cause us any real troubles until the very last knockings of the game, I don't know. I think it's just a reflection of our season. We're not putting sides to bed. And Villa were certainly, not in the same league as us, really.
Yeah. I mean, you make some good points there, and I certainly think you hit the nail on the head when we're talking about, and similar to last night's game, which we'll come on to, is the amount of chances that we had that we should really have been scoring more than two. But that goal for Villa, Karl, John Stones. Let's just quickly discuss John Stones. Well, we all saw it. I watched it again back when I got to the Novotel after the game with Martin, and we saw it. And I still couldn't work out: did he trip over his boot? Did he just fall over? I don't know. I couldn't work it out. It was a weird one, but he got a lot of grief, an awful lot of grief, by pundits, by journalists, by some City fans on that one. I watched it back, and I thought the marking by Fernandinho and Zinchenko was poor to allow Samatta to get right in between them and have a free header. But what were your thoughts on that incident with John Stones?
Well, to be fair, the rest of the game after that, John did really well.
He did.
Yeah, picked his socks up. He was focused, was disciplined. You could tell at the end when they won it, he was overjoyed. But I think that incident, what happened, Andy, was that he was trying to decide whether to clear the ball, whether to head it away, and he tripped over himself. And John has these moments where he makes these mistakes, right? It just, every game there seems to be a mistake that he makes. Just needs to pull his socks up and just focus and be, mentally be aggressive and just make a decision and stick with it. Don't be afraid of what people are going to think. He's a class defender. Just needs to step up and be a man, if you would.
Do you think, Karl, it's a mental thing? Because I do.
I think it's a mental thing. It has to be. The boy has skills. The boy he's a baller. The guy is a baller, man. I mean, 6'2", 6'3", ball playing center back, can head. Just needs to get his head right. That's all. Yeah. Don't be afraid of what people think. Just play the game. You make a mistake, you get back up, and you do it.
Well, one of you said before about you couldn't really blame Kyle Walker because that's just the way City play. Tom, do you think that's part of the problem with Stones? Is that he's trying to play the Pep way, and sometimes maybe his faculties get a little bit mixed up sometimes, and he don't know whether to just boot it out and then Pep's going to bollock him, or whether he's trying to play the right ball and all of a sudden his feet go all over the place. Because there was an incident in last night's game where I think a ball had come across the one where the back post, I think it was Fletcher, just missed it. He fell over in a very similar way again, and I'm thinking, how have he just fallen over there?
I personally think that John Stones doesn't have the capabilities to play how we want to play. I think that he will be gone in the summer. I don't think that Pep will keep him. He's a great lad. I'm not getting that. I just don't think that he'll be at our club next season. The amount of he's injured too much. He falls over. He could have cost us the game at against Villa. He's just not what we need at this point in time. We need quality centre backs who put in a shift, who don't mess up, who actually want to play the Pep way. I just can't see Stones actually turning into the Pep defender.
Okay, that's everyone's entitled to their opinion. Chris, he's been here for 4 years. And I remember a comment that was made by somebody I read, and I thought it was absolutely spot on. Whether I agree with it is another thing, but that comment was, players, if you're with Pep Guardiola and Pep Guardiola's your manager and you've been here 4 years and you've not really improved, does that not say something?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure I totally agree with that, actually.
Okay.
I thought Stones had a very good season last year when he was playing alongside Laporte till he got injured, wasn't it? I thought they looked great together, and I think that's what I think when his confidence is high. I think he's a very classy centre back. Yeah, he's prone to errors, as is most defenders.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're very lucky to have Laporte. He's fantastic. Even Vinny made the odd silly rash challenge. I think Stones should be given another year. It might. I understand this year it's been a dip for him, but I always feel that when he gets a run of games in the team and he starts to find his feet, he usually, he becomes good. I'd give him another season. I saw a tweet that Fernandinho had put out after and I thought, that's how we should be. Let's get behind him. Because it's obviously a confidence thing, and fans, let's just get behind him.
Well, I mean, listen, I'm asking the questions because I have to ask the difficult questions. I mean, if I've tried to support John Stones, and I've always thought, there's something going on, and I'm trying to work out. Nobody knows except for him and his friends around him. I think there's something off field. I think there's something mental with him because I like him. I really do. Well, I like the way he plays the ball out and things like that. Whether it is a mental thing and he needs, I don't know, some psychologist or psychoanalysis done on him and something like that. But I agree with you, Chris, that he's not really getting a run of games, and the problem being is that every time he gets 2 or 3, he gets injured, and that's been his big problem. So, will he go in the summer? Well, I'll tell you what. I'll go down the line then. Karl, will John Stones be here next year?
I think so. I think he will stay.
Okay, all right. Yeah, you think he'll stick with him?
Yeah, he'll stick.
Yeah, okay. Tom?
I don't think he will.
All right. Chris, you think he's going to be here? And that's not you want him to be here. Do you think he's going to be here next season?
Yeah, I think another reason why he will stay is because he's homegrown.
Yeah.
We haven't got many homegrown players, and I think that's why he'll stay. And I think Pep does rate him. I think he's waiting for him to find his confidence again.
Okay, well, just on the Stones thing, I'm just going to ask one very quick question then. We still need to replace Vincent Kompany. If we were to buy somebody, and let's face it, if we were to buy another centre-back, the chances are it would be a big named signing, somebody that we might spend 40 to 80 million pounds on, let's say, for example. Would Stones start over that particular centre-back, and would he just be another rotational centre-back for Manchester City, Karl?
Rotation. If we got Skriniar, or let's even say Koulibaly, Stones would be a rotation player.
Would you want that at this time in his career, Tom?
Probably.
I don't think he would, to be honest. He's young. He wants to be in the England squad. He'll be wanting first team football. I don't think he would. I obviously think he's going to leave anyway. But if he did stay, and we did get a big name in the centre back position, and Laporte was fit, and he wasn't playing every week, I don't think he'd stay. I think he'd want to get as many appearances as possible so he can get into that England squad.
Okay, so Chris, as an advocate of keeping John Stones and supporting him, I feel the same way. Do you think City need another centre back in the summer?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, if they do, then where does that leave John Stones?
Well, if Pep has rotation anyway, he might not be in the first team. Say we're playing in the cup final, a European Cup final, or something like that. The sides are in the league. Maybe Stones might not be his first choice, but I will, maintain that Stonesy, when he gets a run of games, he'll be back to himself, and I think it will help. When Laporte's back as well, and they're playing together. The only thing that seems likely though is that Fernandinho is staying. Well, he is staying another season.
Yeah,
and he has been fantastic this season. I think he's my player of the season. I think he's been fantastic. So anyone coming in has got to displace him, and good luck with that.
Well, I think you just hit the nail on the head for me when it comes to the argument of, do we need another centre-back? I agree, yes, we do. Where does that leave John Stones in the equation? I mean, if John Stones was at the top of his game, I would say, yeah, he could challenge another top class centre back. At the moment, I think if we were to invest that type of money into another centre back, it means he's really a rotational player, which means maybe 1 in every 3 games he's going to be playing for City or cup competitions and things like that. And I agree with you. We've got another year, Chris, of Fernandinho. And for me, so far this season, Fernandinho has been my player of the year. I think he's been absolutely amazing. And there's no signs of him slowing down. He just looks phenomenal. So anyway, it's a cup competition. We've got, well, we could say that's 2, because if you want to count the Community Shield, but it's always good getting the Carabao Cup early in the bag. That's 3 on the bounce, and absolutely phenomenal. That's 8 out of 9 domestic cup competitions, all cup competitions that Pep Guardiola's won. What are your thoughts on that, Karl?
I think it's just amazing when you think about the amount of trophies. First of all, the amount of trophies that are available and what he's won. 8 out of 9. I mean, what else can you ask for? I mean, 9 out of 9 will be perfection. We're just short of that by 1. I mean, what else can you ask for as a City fan? You just have to hold your hands up and thank God that that we are alive at this moment in time. It's just, nobody would have believed this. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, this would happen to the club. It's absolutely stuff that dreams are made of, and that's why we have a jealousy. That's why we have rival fans doing what they do. They just, there's nothing else to talk about.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to jump Tom for the minute. Well, not jump him. Apologies for that. I didn't mean it in that way, Tom. I'm going to come. I should say. Well, I'll be careful of my words. I was going to say I'm going to come to Chris, but Chris, can you think 20 years ago we would have won 8 out of 9 domestic cup competitions?
No.
Does that not show how far we've come and how fantastic a manager Pep Guardiola is?
He's just a serial winner, isn't he? He's just what a guy. God knows what we're going to do when he leaves. Just a brilliant man. Going back 20 years, I remember. You remember when we played United in I think 2010 Carling Cup semi-final, and Rooney scored that goal that knocked us out. I don't think I've ever been as upset as that. All the relegations, all that sort of crap.
It was a header, wasn't it?
It was a header. And I remember feeling so, because that was our chance to go to Wembley.
Of course,
and it was just like, oh. And now it's just like Etihad South, isn't it? As we call it, we just go there regularly these days. It's weird to think back 10 years ago. Honestly, I was so upset. I punched my mate.
Well, Tom, you called it on the blog on Sunday at Wembley. You said we're here again at Etihad South, and we've been absolutely amazing. Finally, just quickly, we've just mentioned about Pep Guardiola and his incessant thirst and hunger for trophies. We'd won 8 out of the 9 last domestic trophies. Why do other managers not do it?
Well, Pep takes every single competition seriously. Obviously, we've got a big squad as it is, but you see he puts out a full-strength squad. He got Aguero, Jesus last night. Look at the Carabao Cup. We take every single team, every single round seriously. We're part of the strongest team, and that's why we get it year in, year out. 3 years in a row now we've won the Carabao Cup. People call it the City Cup, but it's because we respect the competition, and we see the opportunity to win a trophy, go to Wembley, and that's what everybody wants.
Well, I got into a bit of a discussion yesterday with a Liverpool fan, and he turned around and said, "Yeah, no, but the difference between our squads is that you've got a massive squad, all international players. We've not got anywhere near the squad." What are your thoughts on that, Chris?
They probably haven't got as strong a squad as we have, but Klopp hasn't taken the FA Cup seriously, and he hasn't taken the Carabao Cup seriously either. We're only 1 behind them now in the most wins. It's amazing. It's a competition that is the one that's the least what's the word I'm looking for? But the one that is given the least precedence. But for me, going there, going down to Wembley, watching City lift a trophy, it will never grow old.
No.
And, it's fantastic, and I hope we take it seriously when, next year and whenever Pep goes. I hope we continue to, not do what Arsene Wenger did and just play a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
It never did anything for Arsenal doing that anyway, the fans have a great day out, don't they? So,
well, I mean, it's interesting, Karl. Obviously, you're over in the States. How do they look at the two trophies, domestic trophies like the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup? Because for me, I actually prefer the Carabao Cup, if I'm being honest, to the FA Cup at the moment. How is it viewed by soccer fans or football fans in the United States? Do they really take any notice of the Carabao Cup, or is it only really the FA Cup that's the big thing?
Over here, and there's an obsession with winning, right? It's an obsession.
Yeah.
So every cup is a chance to win silverware. If
Yeah.
you don't win, you're a loser. Period. Whether it's a Carabao Cup, whether it's Charity Shield, whether it's Champions League, naturally there's a premium on the Champions League and the Premier League. But every cup is meant to be won. If you don't win it, then you're not the champion. Period. That's the way in the U.S. Everything is about competition. Even friggin' kids games are about competition. You play to win. So yeah, that's the mentality over here for the most part.
But there's no sort of like, if you go into a bar and it's all, if it's the FA Cup, this is a much bigger competition than they don't view it that way.
Well, they do. I mean, there is a nostalgia of the FA Cup here in the US, even here in the US. But once once it's a final, people pay attention. People want to win cups because it represents progress, right? I mean, you have the MLS, you have the MLS Cup, then you have the regular leagues, right? So you have the leagues, both the West and the East. They top your division. Then you have another cup called the MLS Cup on top of that, which is a playoff. So it's anything to show progress, and you win something is taken as important.
So I think all three of us would agree. Please say yes that the Community Shield, the Charity Shield, should be another cup.
Absolutely, it's a Super Cup.
It's a Super Cup. Yeah. Let's call it the Super World Cup Charity Cup. So that's for the Liverpool fans amongst us who might be listening. But anyway, listen, that was a good day out at Wembley at the Etihad South, as Tom calls it. So moving on to last night. Well, as we know, onto another cup, which was the FA Cup, and we played away at Sheffield Wednesday. The starting lineup was Bravo in net. Cancelo this time came in. Stones and Otamendi. Ben Mendy played left back. Then we had Rodri, Bernardo, David Silva, Mahrez, Aguero, and Jesus. Aguero scored the only goal on 53 minutes, and possession-wise, 20% possession for Sheffield Wednesday, 80% for City. They had one shot, but it wasn't on target. We had 20 shots and had 9 of them on target. And for me, we can argue all night long about should anyone deserve the man of the match. And the BBC gave it Bernardo. Others were giving it, I think, Mahrez on the telly last night. For me, it was, is it Will Smith, the goalkeeper? I thought he had a good game last night. So, Tom, what were your thoughts? You were there, mate, weren't you?
Yeah, yes, I was, yeah.
What were your thoughts on last night's game?
Well, I thought it was just a game. It was the game out of the Madrid, the Aston Villa, and the Wednesday game that didn't really need to be didn't need that much effort. No offense to Sheffield Wednesday, because they're a good side. I have got mates, my mate Billy and Richard, who they were. To be honest, I think they were happy with their performance. They thought that they didn't hold back from City. I thought we played well. We passed it around pretty well. We had a lot of chances. Overall, great performance. As you can see, we got 80% possession, 20 shots on 20 shots, 9 on target. 804 passes compared to their 203. It was one of those games where we didn't really have to go out of first gear, and we just did what we had to do, really.
Well, I mean, if you think we went to Madrid and beat them 2-1, yet we went to Wednesday and only won 1-0. And it was a strong lineup. What were your thoughts on that, Chris, watching last night?
I went into work this morning, and one of the lads I work with, Kyle, he's a Chef Wednesday fan, and he was happy, and that about summed up the game.
Yeah.
They didn't want to get beat by a big score. It was like a training ground exercise for us. I was a bit disappointed Wednesday in the fact that this is your chance to to have a cup upset, and not to even have a shot on target. I thought was and they just looked really, I don't know, not bothered, but just please don't give us a hammering.
Yeah.
We played. We had a lot of possession, but they let us have a lot of possession.
Yeah.
And it was slow. It was just one of those games. I didn't enjoy watching it at all. Not City's fault really that they played a spoiling kind of game.
Yeah, well, I mean, Martin was doing the watch along, and I was thinking, thank God you're doing the watch along last night, because this is garbage. Yeah. The first half in particular was very drab. It really, really was. But listen, it's a win. It's one of those, sometimes you just got to win ugly, and we managed to do it with a goal by Aguero. Did you manage to watch the game last night, Karl?
Yeah, I did. I try to watch all the games I can. I wasn't surprised with the performance. I mean, given the fact that we played the final a couple of days before,
absolutely.
Played Real Madrid away. I wasn't surprised at the lack of intensity. I was concerned that we were going to let one slip. I want that to kind of get knocked out by Sheffield Wednesday. The media would have been all over that, and so I just wanted 1-0, move on, next.
Yeah, I mean I think most City fans would sort of look at it and go, listen, I don't care. It's a win. We move on and we just go. After, let's face it, 3 big games. Albeit last night wasn't a big game, but Madrid away and then the Carabao Cup final on Sunday and then to Sheffield Wednesday. I think it was just, let's just get through this as best we can. And it seemed, and watching it, it was one of those games. But my concern last night, and it's been my concern, it was my concern at Villa, at Wembley for the Villa game, Tom, was we keep, towards the end of the game, last 10 minutes or so, keep giving away sloppy free kicks right outside the area.
Yeah, it's. I think it's when the game's tight, they seem to panic, and sometimes they're not used to the fact that the other team can score. They usually have got the game under control. I think it's a case of, oh no, what's going to happen now? Are we going to concede? Obviously, Villa on the weekend, Bravo made that brilliant save. That was panic stations. And then last night, Stones, Otamendi, Mendy made a stupid challenge in the last 10 minutes. They nearly scored from Stephen Fletcher's. He came across and Fletcher nearly put it in. I think it's just a case of getting grip of that game and just remembering that it's never over until the full-time whistle, really.
Is that because we had 20 shots, 9 on target, and only scored 1?
Yeah, I think that was the reason. I think it was the fact there were disbelief, really. Mendy hit the bar. I don't know who else hit the bar. I think it was Bernardo.
I think it was Otamendi. Was it Otamendi's header?
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, I think it was Otamendi. I think it's sometimes a bit like, oh, what can we do? We can't score, so then the heads go, and then obviously we give away the stupid fouls. So I think it's a case of let's bring him down because we're obviously not going to score at the other end.
Chris, going on to last night, anybody stand out for you?
Not really, if I'm honest. I thought Mendy had a better game, but he had a lot of space. They weren't really pressing on him. Mahrez, finding space everywhere, but the last minute, he really frustrated. He frustrated me last night. I don't want to get the Mahrez fanboys on my back here, but it's so frustrating. David Silva, no. Unfortunately for David, I think his time is, as a first in the first team, he's coming to a sad end, really, because he's a wonderful, wonderful player and a lovely guy, So a bit sad. I thought Cancelo was okay, but again, there's no pressure on the defence really until the end. I want to say something about Otamendi because I will be the first to admit I'm not a great Otamendi lover, but he played in all 3 games.
Yeah.
And was steady in each game. I would have given him probably a 7.5 for every game. I think he played he's played really well. He's really stepped into into that centre back position, and I think he deserves his place. I think he's done really well.
Well, I'm glad you've said that, because, as you know, I've stuck up for 2 years for Otamendi, and I keep saying, yes, he makes some absolute boobs and things like that, and but they all do. And I always think Otamendi is, in general, a 7 out of 10 most games. But I think he gets a bit of a, like you're saying about John Stones and things like that. I think he gets a bit of a hard time, Otamendi. But Pep likes him. Pep likes his aggressiveness. He likes his height, even though there can be a rick in him every now and then. But we've drawn Newcastle United in the next round away. So that'll be a trip and a half up to Newcastle. Always a decent place to go and visit, and it'll be loud, it'll be proud. It's one of those one city clubs. So, Karl, I'm going to go Karl, Tom, Chris. Will City beat Newcastle?
Yes, we'll beat them. I think we'll take the opportunity to knock them out and then move on to the next round. They're going to be focused on this game, 100%.
Tom?
Indeed, I think we should beat them. Obviously, it's another chance to get to a semi-final at Wembley and then get to the final, and it's one of the competitions that we want to win this season. So yeah, I think we will.
Chris?
I think we can beat them. I would say I'm 70%. Yeah, but it didn't go that way in the league when we went up there.
No, it didn't.
So we'll see. And Newcastle, if they get the fans behind them, that's a really tough place to go. So an early goal for Newcastle might be very difficult.
Well, I think one of the big things we've got to watch out for and keep a very close eye on is that if you follow me on Twitter at Aviation Blue, you'll have seen over the last 2 days I've been posting all the updates as they come out. That postponed game. We've obviously had the Chelsea game postponed. We've now today had the Newcastle game postponed. We're going to be playing a lot of catch up in potentially around the next round of the FA Cup, the Champions League, things like that. So I think it could end up. I hope it doesn't go against us. I really hope it doesn't go against us, because I think we're safe in the league for second, but we want to win this FA Cup and we want to win the Champions League.
Well, Andy, I think that's where we prioritize, right? That's where we prioritize Champions League and FA Cup, and we play kids in the league, play academy kids, play a mix, and we just focus on the two cups.
You reckon is that what you reckon we should be doing?
Well, that's what we'll have to do. If we get a fixture pilot, that's what we have to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've got this massive squad, haven't we, Tom? This huge squad that we've got 2 world-class players in every position. Surely we should be able to cope, shouldn't we?
I think we can. I think we shouldn't hold back in any of the competitions. Make a point, show your way for that we can go far in the Champions League, and show the whole of England that we can still put up a fight in the Premier League, keep our second spot, and win the FA Cup as well.
Yeah.
Okay, Chris, should we, if we get this fixture congestion, which it looks like we potentially might do, should we be prioritising one over the other, as in League, Champions League, FA Cup?
Yeah, I think so. I think if we can get a couple more, this game in hand we got in the league, if we win it, that's 10 points ahead of Leicester. I think if we can get another couple of good results, then we should be pretty safe in second. Well, no way Liverpool are going to drop
no
points.
God.
So yeah, definitely let's prioritise the cups, and we should get second, definitely third, if not. So if we get into the Champions League next season, then why not? It's what we want, isn't it? So yeah, I can just say something, because I think we've missed one thing about the Carabao Cup.
Yeah,
it just reminded me we were talking about Otamendi, and because another guy who gets a lot of grief is Claudio Bravo, and that save he made in the cup final, that was outstanding. So and not that I suppose any players listen, but well done to Claudio Bravo, and like Zinchenko said, let's change the name to the Claudio Bravo Cup.
Well, listen, that again is another player that I did a video for the channel. must have been 18 months ago, and it ended up getting removed from the channel because I put clips and things like that in, and it was all about Bravo, and it was literally when people were really having a go at him about 18 months ago, and I said to him, look, he's to say, it was the old adage, one shot, one goal is crap, is this, that, and the other, and I went back and watched every single goal he conceded before Edison came in. It was the season before Edison came in, and 7 out of the 10 or 7 out of the 9, there was no keeper would have saved them. They were like headers from 3 yards out, and nobody would have saved them. And a couple of real ricks and things like that, but you only have to look at De Gea. Edison's made a couple of real cock-ups and things like that. So, I've always been an advocate that I think Bravo's a good player. Whether he'll be in the summer, we'll wait and see. And I think Zach Steffen might come in and Bravo might go out, but we'll wait and see. But anyway, that's our cup special. We've reviewed the Real Madrid game. We looked at the Carabao Cup. One thing I will say is just going back to the Carabao Cup, since you've mentioned it, I'm just going to give each of you 1 minute because I do think that Phil Foden was fantastic, and it was a real mature performance in the Carabao Cup final. And as much as people say, "Oh, we need more minutes and these that," I mean, let's put that to one side. Let's just talk about what was that performance like, Karl, on Sunday for you by Phil Foden.
I was watching it with my missus, and she said, "My goodness, this kid is the golden child. This kid is just absolutely phenomenal. His touches, the movement, the passing, the creating time and space. And this kid is ready for prime time." She said, or I said, "It's time for David to retire and let this kid take over." I mean, that was that good. What a performance! I'm really, really proud of the kid, and proud of Pep for giving him a chance.
Tommy, he looks physically strong as well now. I mean, they just could not push him over. They tried. He was, keeping the ball tight to his feet, and they were all over him, and he just wouldn't go down. He kept hold of the ball. What were your thoughts on Phil Foden?
Oh, well, Phil's class. I've always been a supporter of Phil. I love him. He's absolutely brilliant. Just what we need in our team, a bit of passion. In the earlier days of Phil, we all said, oh, he needs to strengthen up a little bit. He's just a teenager, young kid. But now he's got stronger. He's better build. He knows football inside out, and he's turning into he will be a City legend for sure in the future.
So, Chris, does that mean that Pep's all along, when for the last 12, 14 months, people have been crying out, going, journos in particular, I'm talking about, oh, he should need more games, he needs players, he needs more games, he should be playing. As Pep actually looking after his development and knows exactly what he's talking about when it comes to developing the likes of Phil Foden?
In general, I'd say yes. I think he should have had more minutes, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
But there was that crossfield ball that he killed in, his stride.
Yeah.
I just thought, that's a special talent who can do that. He's one of our own. That's why we want him to do so well. He's shown promise from a very young age. I thought he had a fantastic game, and he might have had a quieter second half than he did in the first, but he still, what I really, really love about him, he doesn't give the ball away. And sometimes on the wings, Mahrez and Sane and Sterling give the ball away quite a lot.
Yeah.
Bernardo doesn't. But Foden just kept the ball, and that's really what Pep wants, isn't it? Is somebody to keep possession all the time. I thought he was really, really good. I'm so proud of him. And I hope he's the first of many to come through the youth.
Well, when you just mentioned there, Mahrez gives the ball away, Sterling does, blah, 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 Sane. I was just about to say, but you came up with it. He was very much like David Silva and Bernardo Silva. They rarely give the ball away cheaply. Rarely. They keep and rotate the ball. And that's exactly what he reminded me of. Yeah. He reminded me of a Bernardo Silva on there. When Bernardo had that brilliant season last season. Yeah. That's what he reminded me on Sunday. I just kept thinking, look at his touch. I mean, so calm, so cool. You know what Bernardo Silva's like. He can take a ball with 3 players around him, and the chances are he won't lose it. He'll find a way out and a pass. And that's what Foden did. He's 19 years of age. Yeah. Amazing. it wasn't a one-off. We know his talent. Let's hope he gets a few more Premier League opportunities. By all accounts, Pep said he's going to play on Sunday against United, so I can't wait for that one. But anyway, thank you for that sort of cup review of the last week. Champions League, Carabao Cup final winners, and then Sheffield Wednesday last night. So we're going to move on, and this was a question that actually was raised by Chris and something he wanted to talk about. So I'm going to hand over to Chris, and this is all about opposition fan abuse. And so, Chris, I'm going to get this sort of discussion around about 5 minutes or so. So it's over to you. You can drive this because this was your question and a point you wanted us to discuss. So away you go.
Yeah. Well, I suppose where it all started was the Leicester game, which was just before this cup run of games. And I met Martin outside the ground after the game. Now, Martin had been sat virtually, across from the home fans. I was in the sort of the middle of the City fans, so you could hear the chanting and the singing, but we were particularly loud that day, so we were over singing them easily. But Martin, he'd interviewed John outside the ground before I got out, and he said he'd had quite a lot of hostility outside, and more than you'd expect, really. And that whilst he was in the ground, he was spat at by Leicester fans, and I think that's taken it. I know bad things happen at football, but in recent years that sort of rubbish has died out a bit. But there seems to be it was also prevalent after the game with Villa. I know I've heard a lot from the City fans saying that they'd had good experience with the Villa lads, especially before the game and at the Novotel and places like that. I was at the train queues afterwards, and that is a joke in itself. But so you had trains going straight back to Birmingham, and then trains going to connecting to get to Manchester and wherever the City fans had come from. So you had like a queue of Villa fans, probably a 3-foot gap, and then queues of mixed and City fans. And we were there for probably an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, some people waiting to get on trains, and been on the pop all day long. And it started to get a bit nasty. I never saw this, but I read on a City forum that a 9-year-old City fan was assaulted. There was definitely pizza getting thrown around. And for me, this stems from what I would call, a sustained media attack. I've said this before, and I'll keep it up. Some of the things that have been written about City, it's so one-eyed. There's no taking into consideration that City are very confident of an appeal. If we've got such a strong case and we feel we can overturn it, we're going to have egg on our face, and they're going to look silly and be in a very difficult position if we lose the appeal. The talk being so positive makes me feel, well, we probably have got a good chance. So, it's like when you're at the home games, most times you'll get away fans come round to the Blue Moon Cafe, around the shop area. You might get a few lads come in, sing us the opposition song, but it's generally, there's never any bother really. But I'm wondering now, just how safe is it going to be around there? There's not much police around. There's not much security. There seems to be an upping of the ante, since the UEFA ban's been said, and it is this, you cheats, and the media are now moving away from the Abu Dhabi sort of connection to it and turning it on the fans. There's been some crazy stuff written about City fans, how we wish we were still back in the third division, all that crap.
No, I mean, it is pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. Without interviewing any City fans, just making a random statement like that.
I take my lad to most time when I go up to Manchester to watch him, and I don't want him having to see some of the things that I had to see back in the 70s. I know you did as well. And you go to City, it's usually so friendly. I know when the Scousers are in town and United, there's more segregation and stuff. But I remember when Villa came up. I think it was this season. There was no bother. There was a few lads who walked past the Summerby bar singing one of their songs, but they weren't looking for any hassle. And I just wonder now that we've been tainted, and this is like I say, it's a sustained attack. Where's it going? And I don't think it's very fair, mate. So
Well, I mean, I think you made a good point there. I mean, I could always just play devil's advocate and turn around and say, "Oh, come on! I mean, this is nothing compared to what we grew up with. It's absolutely nowhere near it." But times have changed. We've moved on, and Stadia now has become much more secure and policing and things like that. However, I think the only ones I've seen over the last couple of seasons who fan base that actually needed an escort, actually needed a police escort at the Etihad were Newcastle fans, and I reckon there was about 30, 40 of them. I think it was last season, and they walked being escorted right up Joe Motorway, right outside Summerby's bar, and they were in full voice, and they were well up for it. But luckily, they had a police escort to move them right around the stadium. Because normally, like I say, I mean, we meet fans at all the games and chat to them, away fans and things like that. And on the whole, 99.9% of them, you get the odd coffee, bed and all that type of stuff. And, if you ask them, do you want to come on and things. But on the whole, they're all generally good. And like Sunday, where we were, I spoke to Villa fans before at the Novotel, spoke to Villa fans afterwards, and all of them, to a man and a woman, were really, really nice. We had a bit of aggro with some Villa fans walking up Olympic Way, which I filmed and put on social media. But apart from that, I thought he was okay. But yes, I agree. I read some of the stuff on social media about what happened at the train station. I was walking after the game I had an apartment, which I ended up finding out was right facing the Green Man, which was a Villa pub. So I was walking up to my apartment, and they're still all outside the Green Man, singing and thinking, shit, let me get in the apartment as quick as I can. Yeah. I came out in the morning, and there were smashed bottles everywhere. And I'm not kidding, they were all over the place. And it was like, Jesus Christ, what a mess. Yeah, I don't know, Tom. You were down there. Did you see anything at Wembley? Certainly this weekend in particular.
I didn't see any violence. There was a lot of groups of Villa fans that were up for a fight. Obviously, before we met with you and Martin, Andy, we told you that we had we had some abuse on Wembley Way. A lot of the Villa fans giving us grief, looking for the fight, looking for a bit of a response from us. Yeah. It was as if the majority of Villa fans were looking to try and wind City fans up to get something out of them, but the majority of the City fans weren't taking it and were just singing back. Really,
can I just stop you there and just say, what was the age range of these people?
I'd say, I'm 16 now, so I'd say maybe 18 to 20, 24. So the young fans who thought they were something special, okay. The hooligans, as they like to call themselves, thinking that they could get something out of us all, and none of us rose to it, which is fair play to the City fans, really.
Yeah, I mean, it was only because, as I was walking up to my apartment on Sunday night, and there were a group of about, 12, 14 lads right in front of me, all Villa fans, loud and proud, singing, walking up, all pissed as farts. But they were throwing bottles and stuff like that, and I just ended up having to walk right, because they were all stopping, smoking, stopping, singing, stopping, sing. So in the end, I thought, I'm not standing behind you, so I'll walk right through the lot of them. But they were throwing bottles, and they were doing it. They were all sort of like 18, 19-year-olds. And, I'm just thinking, I don't know. I'm not trying to tar that age group with the brush, but it does seem to be, it might have been the younger fan base that was trying to create something. Because, like I said, most of the Villa fans, 99.9% I met, were lovely people, really, really nice. Karl, can you believe that? Do you see from afar that maybe this is a thing that Chris and Tom are talking about? That Chris in particular thinks maybe since the UEFA thing, it is opposition fans that you've heard or watched or you've read on social media? Do you think that they are upping the ante against City fans?
Absolutely. I mean, you only have to go to Twitter and see what's going on. It's absolute rubbish. But here's my own. I think that the media, and particularly some media outlets in particular, have a specific goal to discredit, to tarnish, to basically rubbish anything that we've done. And it's not because UEFA's there. I think that's an excuse. I just don't think they like the fact that a club that 10, 15 years ago was struggling in third division has an investor from UAE who's poured money into the club, money into the area, and have built this magnificent world-class facility and has the best manager in the world. They don't like it. I wrote an article last year, and the article was titled, "If Pep Guardiola was manager of Manchester United, they would be calling this team the best ever in the history of the world. I guarantee you." But the fact that it's City, who have suffered in the past and now enjoying the fruits of that suffering, have this glory, they don't like it. Yeah. And they want to tear everything down. And we see it. We see it on TV. We see it in the media. We see it on social media. We see it everywhere. And we don't care. We do not care. US fans don't give two. As long as the team's playing good football, the away fans are magnificent. It fills us with so much joy to hear them every week singing and chanting. It's amazing. We'll keep supporting the team, up or down. We'll still be there. So, just we support the club, and that's all that counts. Nobody can love you as much as you love yourself. Charity begins at home, and we just have to love our club.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was 6 seats away from the Villa fans in 501 on Sunday, and they were pretty embarrassing. There was only about 20 of them that kept trying to get a bit of rivalry going. The rest of them were all just sat down. So I guess it's a buy-off between, do you want 200 of them to have a bit of a rivalry with you and it gets a bit of an atmosphere going, or do you want 20 idiots, giving it all large? I don't know. I'm just thankful it's not like it was, Chris. I do think your point is fair. I do think that we are being targeted, or City fans potentially are being targeted. But as long as we stick together, at the end of the day, we've gone through far worse times. Let's face it. Yeah,
absolutely, we have. I mean, like you said, I saw that Villa fans were fighting in the stadium with each other, before kick-off, and the bottle throwing, there was a lad who had his head cut open, wasn't there?
Yeah.
But it's not the first time Villa fans have had a fight at Wembley with themselves. I just think they got some idiots. But so have we, mate. We had a guy a couple of rows behind me, just whinging the whole game through that there wasn't an atmosphere, and the people around him were getting really fed up. And one of them, I'm not sure if he didn't give him a clip round the ear at the end of the match. It was, he just,
Mate, there were City fans on the back row behind me, and they got separated by a group of friends who were arguing with each other, and one was holding one to one side, one was holding one to the other. Is that because maybe it's a 16:30 kickoff and everyone's already tanked up by the time they get in?
Yeah, I think so. A Sunday, at +4, crazy. And I wish that, whoever it is, if it's Sky or the FA, whoever, put it on a bit earlier. It's Sunday. People aren't getting home to Manchester till 1, 2, even 3 in the morning. I've seen, because the M6 was clogged up and down a one lane and whatever. There's no care for the fans. If it was played at 1 o'clock or something like that, and whatever the 4 o'clock game was a Premier League game, great. But when you got to go all that way home, it's an early start, a late finish, and you're working Monday. It's
listen. Simple solution is play it on the Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just play it on the Saturday.
Yeah.
No, most people have not got work on a Sunday. Play it on a Saturday afternoon. Make it a 2 o'clock kickoff, or 1 o'clock kickoff, or whatever. So people have got time to get down there if they're coaching or they're on the train or whatever. Make it a 2 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday. And then people can get a train back or get the buses back and be on before midnight. I know Martin didn't. He drove all the way back after the game. He didn't get home till sort of 4 o'clock, and he was at work at 8 o'clock. So it's just, I think it's one of those, we want money off TV for revenue. And they have we sold out to the devil, and they dictate when it has to happen. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, but we're coming to the end. The final one is question for tonight is the golden question. So, Karl, you've got a question that you can ask to. One question that the three of us, me, Tom, and Chris, can answer. So we'll keep this very brief. Away you go, mate.
If City win the Champions League and Liverpool win the Premier League, who's had a better season?
Tom?
Well, obviously the Liverpool fans will say the Premier League's more important, even though they said the Champions League was more important last year. You know how they contradict themselves. Personally, I feel that non-biased, take my blue tinted glasses off at this point. I think we've had the better season. To go all the way through Europe, to have such injuries. You know, we've had Laporte out, we've all these different ones. I think we'll have had the better season. Liverpool have had lots of luck. Can't deny that. We haven't been at our best in the Premier League, and if we obviously do get the FA Cup as well, and we've obviously got the Carabao, I think we've had the better season with the Champions League especially.
Okay, Chris.
I think it's been a disappointing Premier League campaign compared to the last two seasons. But coming second in the league, let's face it, that's a great effort. I don't know. That's a really tough question. I think if we win that and the FA Cup, there's no doubting we've had the better season. Maybe if we can win that and the League Cup, maybe even then. But Liverpool, and they have had a lot of slices of luck again this year. But they deserve to be where they are. They've been better than us in the league. That's just the way it is. But if we can do a treble, then definitely our season's been better.
Right. Okay. So over to me then. If you were just talking about a Premier League or a Champions League, one or the other, as a City fan, I would of course say the Champions League. If I had to take my blue tinted specs off, I'd say Liverpool have had a better season, purely because they have absolutely run away with this league. They've been by far the best team in the Premier League, by a million miles, in my opinion. They've been the most consistent team in the Premier League. Forget the luck, forget the VAR. You need to do that to win a Premier League. And I don't think the likes of ourselves and others have been good enough this season. We've been too inconsistent. Forget the argument of which is better, which is not. For me, the Premier League is always the bread and butter. I've said it every season. I argued with Liverpool fans last season. Our performance, even if it was a Premier League over their Champions League, they argued it was a Champions League. So they would this season say it's the Premier League because they win it. I don't know. If it was one trophy each, I would say Liverpool have had the better season. They've not won it in 30 years. So, and to win it in a canter like they probably will do, I'd say is more special overall for them. But for us to win our first Champions League would be absolutely incredible. And I don't really care who thinks what is better. If City win a double and they win a single, and City win a treble and they win a single, we've easily had the better season. So that's my answer. Right, Tom. Good question.
Yeah. Now then, guys. When in their prime, which one would you have? David Silva or Kevin De Bruyne? And you can only have one.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh yeah, well that's easy. I'm going to answer it first. It's easy for me, David Silva, because I don't think I've seen Kevin De Bruyne in his prime yet. That's the only reason why.
I'll take Kevin De Bruyne. On his game, it's just a different player, completely different. He creates space and time. David does too, but Kevin does, for me anyway.
Are you saying that because it's David Silva's last year?
No. Maybe it's just my preference for the way he plays those kind of long.
No, just
long balls. Yeah, but it's close. It's hard to pick one or the other, man.
I honestly don't think we've seen the best of Kevin De Bruyne yet. I still think maybe another year or 18 months we might see him really, really improve even more.
Yeah.
Chris?
Tom, you are a bad man. Right.
He's a terrible man.
I apologise, guys.
and Andy, you're not going to like this.
Go on. Yeah, it's fine. No, it's fine. It's fine.
I love Kevin De Bruyne.
I do.
I think and I love David Silva, but same really as Karl. I just love De Bruyne's style of play.
Yeah.
I think he is the best player I've ever seen in the City shirt. I think he's fantastic.
Wow.
And I just hope he stays for a long time. And like you say that, he hasn't quite reached his peak. That what could he be like? I think the one, that disappointing game against Newcastle this season, the goal he scored against Newcastle, just wow, wow.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Oh, there's no doubt. And like I said to you, if you ask me in 5 years' time, I might even change my mind. I might even go, well, I've seen Kevin De Bruyne at his peak. I really don't think we've seen him at his peak. I think he's that fit. And because he's had a few injuries, had a bit of time out and things like that, I still think there's more to come from him. So that's why I've got to stick with David for the time being. But I might change my mind in 5 years when I've seen them both. But Tom, you're an awful kid. I'm not having it. That's a terrible question.
Well, I'll just change my name to Gary then instead, and I can get away with it.
Gary, that was an awful question.
And the same thing, Andy. In 5 years' time, I might turn around and say, "Do you know what? David Silva was a better player."
Yeah. It's all about your preferences and whatnot. I mean, there's no doubt in it. I mean, I buzz off Kevin De Bruyne sometimes when he some of the games he plays is just makes your eyes open wide. But your final question then, Chris.
Okay. I can have either answer a yes or no or expand on it. But Rodri, yes or no?
Oh, Karl.
As opposed to who?
Well, he's taking Fernandinho's role. So.
And can I just stop you there, because I think this is, and I'll just chip in with mine then, so that this is where I'm coming from with this question or this answer is I do think when this question gets asked, or like you just asked that question now, the immediate thought in our minds as City fans is we start comparing him to Fernandinho. And I think is a touch unfair, because Fernandinho for me still possibly, even now if he moved into central defensive midfielder, the best central defensive midfielder in world football right now. He's that good, and so I think it's a bit unfair to and I'm only surmising that people do that because it's what I do when I hear that question. And I try and distance myself away from thinking about Fernandinho, but he's there all the time because he's so good. So I don't know. Back to you, Karl.
Yeah, I mean, given the fact that this is his first season, I would say yes. If it's the same next season, then something needs to change. But given he's 8 months in or 6 months in now, I would say yes for now.
Tom?
I don't mind Rodri. I call him the ostrich. I think he's sometimes he I call him Ostrijo. That's my nickname for him, because sometimes he has a dodgy game. I think he just needs time to get into the English football, obviously, because he's been in Spain for a while. I think he can replace him and be a really good player for us. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Rodri for me, yes. I mean, he's definitely staying. There's no doubt about it. And I think he can. I think he can go on and do great things at City. Will he be a Fernandinho? No, not for me. But like I said, I do think a lot of the time when you compare or ask that type of question, I think immediately what springs to my mind is Fernandinho, and it's trying to disassociate Fernandinho and what he's done and how great he is, to try and compare Rodri after he's not even done a year yet. So I think we need to give him time. But the signs are positive. He does need to settle in. He needs to settle in a bit more. And I'm hoping for I think this season has been a 6 to a 7, depending, sometimes an 8 in some games. But I think he needs another year, because he's playing in a very difficult position, and it's a very important position. And I think, we have that legacy of Fernandinho being there, who, like I said, for me, is still potentially the best central defensive midfielder in world football. So for me, yes, he stays and he'll improve. I don't know whether anyone else wants to add to that.
Well, the reason I asked the question is because I don't know the answer myself.
Yeah. I don't think many City fans do, if I'm being honest, Chris. And it's a hard one because we've seen glimpses of wow, and then we've seen other times where like a bit underwhelming. So
I think the thing that I've noticed with him is that I think our transition is slow. He doesn't. He doesn't pass. He has to take an extra couple of touches, doesn't he? But he looks a good player. So.
I think he's got the physicality. He's got the technical brain and things like that. And I think Karl mentioned something earlier saying, remember when Fernandinho first came? He needed a year or so. So I've got fingers crossed for him because I do like him. I think he's an intelligent guy, intelligent player. Yes, he doesn't look like he moves the ball that quickly, but maybe I don't know. Maybe he will next season. Let's hope so. Yeah. Right. To finish off, I'm going to just ask you very quickly, 30 seconds each. We got United on Sunday. So, Karl, United Sunday. How do you see it going?
We should go there and we should try to batter them. That's all I want. Period. Nothing more, nothing less. Go there and just batter them. Put them back in their place.
I don't think they've come out of their place, have they? I think they've been there for 4 or 5 years. But I mean, I know what you mean. Tom?
I'll keep it short and sweet. It's a must-win. Let's get the 3 points. Let's win the Derby Day and let's make Manchester blue again.
Again?
Yeah, because they all thought that Manchester's red because they beat us twice at our place. So let's make it back blue again. Up the boys, come on.
Well said. Chris?
Yeah, it's a funny one because they've not had a bad record at the Etihad recently, and we've had a brilliant record at Old Trafford. I think they've got to come out and play a bit more at Old Trafford, and I think that might suit us down to the ground. I'm looking forward to see Foden play again.
Do you think Kevin De Bruyne is a massive determining factor for Sunday? If he's out, do we win? If he's in, do we need him, Karl?
Well, the last time we played last year, he was out and we still won. Yeah. So Pep will adjust. Pep knows how to play these people away. So I'm confident we'll do well.
Tom?
Yeah. I think we just need to play our game, really. Smash them into touch.
Sorry, did I just wake you up there? Were you just lying down on your bed then, ready for
No, I was just checking the Man United score, that's all.
What is it?
It was... 1 second. Is it still 3?
They're 1-3 now.
Yeah, 3-0, yeah. Yeah, I was just checking as you was asking, sorry.
Anyway, listen, guys, it's been absolutely wonderful having you on the podcast. This is the Podcast Cup special, and we've also looked at sort of opposition fan abuse and the golden question, and they were tough, bloody questions tonight. They were very, very difficult ones. And I want to say a massive thank you to Karl in Washington. Thank you very much, Karl.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming on, mate. Tom, thank you again, buddy.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
And Chris Baker, as usual, thank you, mate.
Hey, cheers, Andy. Just one little anecdote from the weekend, mate. So
yeah, go on.
Stood at the train station waiting, and there's some 18-year-old Spotty Herbert in a Villa top giving it, champions of Europe, you'll never see that. And thinking, well, you've never seen it neither. And some City fans shouted back to him, "You're just a shit Tommy Selby," and the whole place just fell about laughing. So, thanks very much, mate.
Maybe I need to put Tommy Selby on the thumbnail for this particular podcast. But guys, listen, you've been superstars. This is Andy from Man City Fan TV. This is the latest podcast. It's all about the Cup specials, the 3 games that we played against Madrid, Villa and Sheffield Wednesday. Don't forget, please, I want to say a massive thank you to everybody. We've smashed through the 12,000 subscribers, so that's massive thank you to everybody who contributes, not only likes of Karl, Tom, Chris, but Martin, Kiam, and all the other guys who assist coming on the channel for the podcast, and also everybody who sort of comes and says hello. It was great at half-time. I said it on the vlog. At half-time at Wembley, a couple of guys came over shaking our hands and saying they love watching the the vlogs, the live streams, the fan cams, even though they don't comment. So appreciate it. The channel's only growing, and that's all because of you guys. So guys, take care, enjoy. Don't forget you can download this on SoundCloud for free, and you can listen to it whenever you want. This will be on the YouTube channel. Don't forget to comment below this particular video. And if you've got anything else or you want to come on a future podcast, don't forget, send us an email, mcfcfantv@gmail.com. Take care, guys, and have a great evening.